A little while ago, this video of a Saudi prince denouncing Israeli occupation went viral.
They profess that they want to be friends with Saudi Arabia. And yet, all Israeli governments are the last of the Western colonizing powers of the Middle East.
His name is Prince Turki Al Faisal. He's the 7th child and youngest son of this guy, King Faisal ibn Abdulaziz Al Saud. Vastly popular amongst his people and across the Arab and Muslim world, King Faisal abolished slavery from Saudi Arabia, implemented a policy of modernization and reform, and was fiercely pro-Palestinian, publicly declaring his opposition to Zionism and Israel's occupation of Palestine. He was also in support of a unified pan-Muslim foreign policy. Faisal is perhaps best remembered for leading the 1973 oil embargo, crippling Western economies over their support of Israel's war efforts. But his legendary status as King of Saudi Arabia and custodian of the two holy mosques was cut short after being assassinated by his own nephew in 1975.
الأمم المتحدة فلنقبل بتقسيم فلسطين وهذا ما لا يمكن أن نقبله أو نرضى عنه ولو أجمع العرب جميعا على أن يرضوا بوجود إسرائيل وبتقسيم فلسطين فلن ندخل معهم في هذا الاتفاق.
Faisal was born in Saudi Arabia's capital Riyadh in 1906. He was the 3rd son of King Abdulaziz, the 1st king of Saudi Arabia. Faisal's mother passed away when he was only 6 months old, so he was raised by his maternal grandparents. At the time, Faisal's generation was raised in an atmosphere that emphasized values of courage and piety. From his early years, he was dragged into political life and governance responsibilities. Faisal became the first Saudi royal to visit England in 1919. He was only 14 years old. Domestically, Faisal was sent to the provinces of Hayl and Asir in 1922. Accompanied by 6,000 troops loyal to the House of Saud, he achieved complete control over these territories. He later became viceroy of the Hejaz region in 1926. His political ascendance reached the international arena when he became Minister of Foreign Affairs in 1930. For 30 years until 1960, Faisal traveled the world and was consumed by Saudi Arabia's foreign policy, a matter that he personally handled until his death as king. Most notably, Faisal was invited to the US by former President Roosevelt in 1943. But this was still the start of the journey for Faisal, who was destined for the top spot, the throne. Faisal became Prime Minister and Crown Prince after the ascension of his elder brother King Saud. He issued a decree of the total abolition of slavery in 1962. He founded the country's first television station. He established the Islamic University of Medina, as well as the Muslim World League, a global charity that is still operating today. Faisal's profile was rising, and it was time to seize the moment. A power struggle ensued with his brother, and in 1964, he became King of Saudi Arabia and custodian of the two holy mosques.
ولذلك فإنني أدعوكم أيها المواطنون جميعا بأن تكونوا في عون حكومتكم في توجيهها الاتجاه الصحيح، وإذا كانت هناك أي أخطاء أو أي ملاحظات فإن لكل فرد الحق بأن يبديها وأن يوصلها إلى أكبر مرجع وإلى أصغر مرجع، فإن هذا حقكم أنتم وهذا واجبنا تجاهكم وتجاه أي فرد في هذه الأمة.
At home, King Faisal applied impactful reform. His top priority was modernization. He started the nation's first television broadcasts in 1965. He announced the nation's first 5-year economic plan. He established the Ministry of Justice, set in track the current system of administrative regions, and laid the foundations of a modern welfare system. King Faisal also recognized the religious and cultural diversity of the kingdom and prevented religious zealots and radical clerics from attaining positions of power. Instead, he opted to promote a policy of inclusiveness when it came to government appointments and the governance of Saudi Arabia's various regions. But Faisal faced a lot of internal resistance to his modernization attempts. He clashed with religious clerics in matters such as education for women. Faisal was also facing the possibility of being toppled by the threat of a coup inspired by Gaddafi's rise to power in Libya and plots to overthrow him by Egypt's Arab nationalist president, Gamal Abdel Nasser. And so Faisal built a sophisticated security apparatus to counter this existential threat to the monarchy. In 1969, Faisal ordered the arrest of hundreds of military officers, including some generals who were accused of plotting a coup. But it was Faisal's moves on the global stage in the early 70s that sealed his legacy and put Saudi Arabia on the map, not only across the region, but around the world.
ونحن حينما نصارح بسياستنا لا يهمنا أن يزعل الغرب أو أن يتكدر الشرق، لأن الشرق والغرب اتفقوا على هضم حقوق العرب وسلبهم أراضيهم المقدسة، ولكننا ندافع عن مبدأ ندين به بعد الله وبعد عقيدتنا الإسلامية، بأن العرب يجب أن ندافع عن حقوقهم.
King Faisal maintained a close relationship with the US and was deeply anti-communist. However, that did not stop Faisal from pressuring the US's closest ally in the region, Israel. In 1969, the Saudi king organized a conference in Morocco. 25 Muslim nations attended and collectively condemned Israel's 1967 occupation of Arab lands. This conference also established the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Faisal's legendary status as a statesman came after he surprised the Western world in 1973 as the Yom Kippur raged between Syria, Egypt and Israel. Faisal decided to apply the stick. In a shocking move, he withdrew Saudi oil from world markets in protest over Western support for Israel during the conflict, much to the jubilation of his neighbors Egypt, Syria, and the entire Arab world. The move is considered by economists as the world's first oil shock. It set America into a recession and had long-lasting effects on global politics and the economy. The price of oil quadrupled from about $3 a barrel in 1973 to $12 a barrel by 1974. It was not the US alone who was a target. Canada, Japan, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, Portugal, Rhodesia and South Africa had also run out of Saudi oil. Faisal had sent a message loud and clear. He was a pro-Palestinian, pro-Arab and pro-Muslim king who would not hesitate to shake things up even if it was at the expense of his close ally and superpower, the US. The power of Gulf oil had been felt and drove the world into a standstill. The surge of cash that would enter the kingdom after the newly established oil prices created an economic boom for Faisal's Saudi Arabia. The king also used this newly acquired wealth to send aid and subsidies to war-torn Egypt, Syria, and the Palestinian Liberation Organization.
إخواني، ماذا ننتظر؟ هل ننتظر الضمير العالمي؟ أين هو الضمير العالمي؟ إن القدس الشريف يناديكم ويستغيث بكم أيها الإخوة لتنقذوه من محنته ومما ابتلي به، فماذا يخيفنا؟ هل نخشى الموت؟
Faisal had made astonishing progress. He had modernized his country, established the kingdom as an all-important regional and global player, and he had taken a pro-Palestinian stand that would immortalize him in the hearts and minds of hundreds of millions of Arab citizens. But this new chapter in Saudi Arabia's history was cut short in a brutal way. In 1975, while attending a majlis, an event where the king opens up his residence to his citizens to petition him, King Faisal leapt forward to kiss his nephew Prince Faisal bin Mus'ab. The nephew, who had just returned from a long stay in the US, pulled out a pistol and shot him twice. One bullet hit Faisal's chin and the other went through his ear. The king was dead. The prince at first was declared insane, but later a court declared that he was sane and sentenced him to a public execution. There are many conflicting theories as to why King Faisal was killed by his nephew. One theory suggests that this was revenge. Faisal bin Mus'ad's brother, Prince Khalid bin Mus'ad, had been killed in 1966 by a policeman during violent protests that had erupted after King Faisal opened Saudi Arabia's first television station. But for many in the Middle East and Saudi Arabia, King Faisal's oil embargo was the real cause of his assassination, via a Western conspiracy sponsored by the CIA and the Mossad. The truth remains ever elusive, but one thing is certain: Faisal's legacy still lives on through the words of his son. But one wonders what Saudi Arabia would look like today, domestically and on the international stage, had Faisal not been killed. Or maybe if those who succeeded him had taken a page from his book.